Hey, welcome back to another episode of Rocket City Momentum's podcast. I am your host, Dana Stone. I am also joined by Lucas Schuyler Scott.
Present. Oopsie, I cut to her. Present.
Present. That means you ruined the surprise.
Oh, no.
I was going to do some build up and
Take it from the top. Take it from the top. Let's do it again.
No, it's fine.
Okay, fine.
Just quit ruining it, Lucas. But our guest today really probably needs no introduction. Like, she is well known in the Huntsville market and is the owner of Flourish, a marketing company. And I'm so excited to have Megan Nivens-Tannett. Do you go by all three?
I do.
Yeah. It's kind of like Lucas Schuyler Scott, right?
I'm just trying to be more like Lucas.
Well, welcome to the show. Tell us about you and
Hi.
Flourish.
Oh, yeah. So thank you. I admire you so much and what you guys are doing. So I've been in Huntsville for about 20 years and have always worked in marketing and public relations, and started a marketing firm a couple of years ago. And after I was laid off from my job, and my daughter dared me to start a business, and so I did, and that was 8 years ago. And so Flourish is a small marketing and public relations agency. Last year we had about 80% of our portfolio in government contracting and defense. That's kind of where we landed as of most recently, and we've had great opportunities to work with like NASA and lots of great local companies here, and really focus a lot on strategic growth, but not necessarily through the lens of just marketing. It's really about operations and infrastructure and organizational challenges that a company might have, brand perception, both internal and external, recruitment challenges, things like that. So we really do a lot, in the realm of strategic communications and marketing and public relations and things like that. So, yeah. But happy to be here, and I love you so much. And fun fact, Dana is also a she-boss. So
tell us all about she-boss.
So she-boss is a podcast that we have that is not as great as this one, but hey, we got to aim for something, right? But we started that after COVID, just as a way to kind of connect with community. And similar to, I know we share the love here, but like, I've met so many amazing women along my journey, right? And I think the second I was able to just get real and ask them, about themselves and learn more about them, I realized that they have the same exact challenges that I do, right? And like, they don't have it all figured out and put together. And I just love that authentic realness that I've gotten from a lot of women here. And that was something that I just wanted to put onto a stage in some capacity and tell that story beyond what you see from someone who you just are connected with on LinkedIn, right? So we started She-Boss as a way to just really showcase amazing women who are just doing really badass things in this community. And so it's just a really informal interview. And, I started my very first one. We were talking about this, but I was like, this is when Facebook Live was kind of like having its moment. And I was like, every Wednesday at 3:30, we're going to go on Facebook Live and have a She-Boss interview. I'm like, it's just me. Like, I have one, I think I had one other employee at that time, and
team of one. Great.
Holy cow. And the preparation and the planning and the, all of the things associated with it were all new for me. I everything with Flourish.
You just had an idea and you were like, let's go.
Let's just do it. Right. And I that's what I've loved so much about this journey of being with Flourish, is that every day I'm doing something completely new and outside my comfort zone. And I think at this phase in my life, that's been the most exciting, because I'm just learning so much as I get older. But She-Boss, we went live on Facebook at 3:30 in the afternoon. We'll never do that again. Technical issues, like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it was just one thing after another. Thank goodness the interviewee was just so casual and she was totally fine with it. We ended up doing it just fine. But then I realized that I just had to lower the bar a little bit, start small. And but we've had, around 55 to 60 episodes since, and they're all shot in a studio in our office, and they're beautifully done now. And
they're beautiful.
They look, just the quality of them is just so great. And honestly, it's really been a great way for us just to tell the story of a lot of these women in our community who are just doing really cool stuff.
Yeah. And,
oftentimes you have good conversations at networking events, but sometimes they're often surface level, right?
Yes.
And so the intent behind these interviews, some of them are over an hour long, where it's just where we really go into sort of the background and the history and some personal challenges. And there's been lots of, tears shed on episodes. And
that's the best ones, don't you know? Because it's real and it's raw
real.
And it's authentic.
Yeah, and I don't send out interview questions beforehand. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we might talk about this or we might talk about that.
Depends on how the wind blows, what I'm feeling that day. day? What's going on?
And, in the early days, we always did it over a cocktail. So that just, would lend itself to a little bit more. These days,
cocktails. Woo!
Sticking with the water these days, I know. So She Boss has been an absolute passion project of mine. I just adore it. My ultimate goal with it, honestly, is I would love to maybe turn it into an event series where it's like a women's conference, or turn all the interviews into a coffee table book that we can sell and have the proceeds benefit like the crisis services of North Alabama or something like that.
Beautiful.
So I want to take it and really turn it into more of a storytelling piece just over time. I just need more time in the day.
You're basically right, because in addition to running a business and living your life and all these other things, it's just a little hobby, right?
It's a lot. And every time you watch one, or fun fact, I have actually never watched one of the She Boss interviews that I've done.
Well, why?
Until probably in the last 2 months.
Really?
Which is mind-blowing to me, because I watched the first one and I was like, oh my God, this is gold. Not for me, but for the interviewee. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, they should use this to pitch themselves on other podcasts and turn this into 4 or 5 blog posts and make sure they're doing
your marketing brain immediately. It's how can we use this media in as many ways as possible?
Exactly. And so, and it's funny because I'm like, okay, that should be something I offer along with this, right?
Yeah.
More of a PR plan to say, here's how you can use this asset and get some longevity out of it.
And think about, you already have 50 of them that you could turn around.
Oh, for sure. So there's just so much potential there with it.
But then there's the other side of your brain that's like, whoa, that sounds like a lot of work.
But I'd honestly, I would spend a lot more time there than I would on my day job. But I just think, they've resulted in some really, really great interviews, and I'm really, really proud of it, honestly, because I just talk, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I did start off as a journalism major in college. So maybe I got half a class of, some interview tips and guidance and something like that. But I immediately dropped out of the program.
Oh, so
when my writing was critiqued, and I was like, I don't like you if you're going to critique my baby. So I was more of a creative writer, not really a structured writer. I don't like structure or instructions, or any
your opinion.
Any limitation. I'm like, I'm out. It's
you
not.
just want to let the creative juices flow and let it go where it goes.
Very much so. And
so would you describe yourself as a free spirit?
I think so, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not driven by process and systems and stuff like that. I was fortunate enough to sit in a class with my dear friend Paul Finley, who is doing leadership training, and he has one of his training models is really built around this practice called colors. It's sort of the DISC assessment or Enneagram, and you kind of self-identify what color you are, and that color, represents a certain set of behaviors and traits and challenges and strengths and all this kind of stuff, right? And then you match up your color dynamic within the organization and figure out okay, what do we need more of? What do we need less of? How do we have to balance?
How do we build a really good team that has a little bit of all the colors, right?
Exactly. So, we start the meeting out sort of as an icebreaker where there's just these images of these people doing an activity of some sort, and each of the cards are a different color. And you have to kind of pick what color you self-identify with most, right? And so there's some that are someone looking at an Excel spreadsheet and checking things off, and then there's others that are just doing different things, right? Well, there was this one where I had a picture of a guy who was going through a huge box, it was you're building a bed from IKEA type thing with 47,000 pieces and whatever. And he just takes the instructions and he's throwing them over his shoulder. And that's me.
Oh, I feel it.
So that was the card that I picked, and I felt attacked during that moment. But I was like, oh my God.
Attacked and seen at the same time.
Totally seen. And so I was like, do I need to take this class? Because I'm pretty sure, So my husband laughs all the time because he's polar opposite of that, right? And so
opposites attract.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
For real.
It's crazy. So anyway, so I'm not necessarily run in that capacity. I'm definitely more of a free spirit, which has its absolute pros, but it also has its cons, especially in entrepreneurship, right?
It's hard, especially when you get to try to scale and things like that. If you don't have process,
without a doubt,
you
fall apart.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because my husband is also the exact opposite and will read the manual front to back twice before picking up and separating out all the pieces to then assemble. And I will be like, obviously this piece goes with this, right. Just start building, right?
Yeah.
Or when we're hanging pictures,
oh gosh,
I'm like, should go Yep, a little bit higher. And he's like measuring and getting out chalk lines.
He's stressed out because of how he was.
So it is so funny how we end up with people that are so opposite of us. All right, Lucas, you can chime in. I
think we need.
Are
to
you
I've been gifted the chance to chime in.
Are you the instructions or the throw it away?
If it makes sense, I'm just going to put it together.
Really?
But I'm not going to throw away the instructions. That's stupid.
Are you going to read the instructions?
I'm not going to read them. I will definitely. No, I will not read.
You will reference them if needed.
So maybe somewhere on the in between then.
Okay.
Is where you said.
All right.
Yeah, basically, like, I'm definitely not going to read the instructions. Like, good grief. If there's a lot of words on a page, I'm out.
Right.
Pretty much I'm out.
So you like IKEA instructions?
I like instructions with photos for reference.
The diagrams.
Yeah. I like the
that.
instructions to have a list of what's supposed to be in the box. That's the most important piece. Just so I know that I'm not crazy when it's not working.
Yeah, okay, but still, there's a very detailed, like, we'll make sure that all the things are there first. I would just jump straight in and start, like,
me too.
And if I run into something, then I'm...
Yeah, but then you're running the risk of someone else having made a mistake and you're suffering from it, right? Like if you have a clear, detailed list of everything that's in the box and there's something missing, and then you and you don't know that, and you go to assemble, and you're like, this should make sense, but it doesn't, then you're suffering because someone else did something stupid.
It's funny. Get a room of creatives together and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe we should... Doesn't that sound like a really fun event?
It does.
Like everybody has IKEA furniture that they have to assemble. Ready, set, go.
Seriously, and see how they attack it, because there's a strategy to it.
And just film what happens and maybe make them work together with a team.
Yeah. It's fun times,
Suddenly there are enemies. Okay, so I love She Boss, and I want to go back to what you said, like you had never watched it. So what made you go watch it?
So I think, I knew that the one that I listened to in particular was Amanda Hooten. And there was something that kind of stuck out during the interview that made me think I needed to go back and listen to it. And I don't know if it was something that I was afraid I said incorrectly or like stumbled over my words. And honestly, I think it was more out of like, I think we need to edit this out. Just because I like... To. And we typically, there's none of that. We don't edit them at all. Everything is probably the number of times we've had to like cut stuff out has been never, and the guests, they don't see the interviews before they go. So like we just launch with what we've got. But I thought that maybe I had said something incorrectly that I wanted to edit. So it was merely out of like, it wasn't because I wanted to listen to the episode necessarily. It was because I thought we made a mistake. So I don't know if you guys do this, but I'm always listening to a podcast of some sort, especially when I'm in the shower. So I had it on in the shower and I started listening to it and I was like, oh my God, Amanda it's like pure gold of what she's talking about. Yeah. And of course I know her. I love her. I think she's amazing. But hearing her speak when being asked these questions, when I'm in the moment, I'm not really hearing it in the same way as opposed to like after the fact, right? I'm in a very different mindset. And so it was just, I was just really captivated by what she was saying and frankly, really, really impressed.
And you got to listen to it as a listener,
right? Yeah. And I consume podcasts all the time, right? So like, I listen to them constantly and there's little things here and there with certain people, like the New York Times guy, I cannot think of his name, but he has this little sound that he always makes when he's interviewing people. And there's just something, and I love it because it's just this like, he's my friend and like he has this little quirk and I don't know.
You can recognize his
I know, it's just this little thing. I know it sounds so silly, but like, so I really do love listening to podcasts just all the time. So I usually have something in my ear, but it really took me back. And then Adrienne Garbarino's podcast, I was driving to an event in Decatur a couple nights ago, and I was like, let me just put this on, because now that I'm warmed up to hearing an interview, and there, I'll be honest with you too, there was also in the back of my mind this kind of like, who listens to their own stuff? Like and so I just was like... Anyways, I listened to Adrienne's. Oh my God. Adrienne's was fantastic. And, I'm at 45, I'll be 46 this year. And so I'm very, very focused on my But so I listen to a lot of podcasts on women's health and hormone health and menopause and all that kind of stuff because we are nearing that age, right? And so I am nearing that age. Let me not say
put us together, honey.
So, but going back and listening to Adrienne's podcast again, as a listener, I was like, oh my God, this is up there with like the ones I've listened to from Mel Robbins. And again, it's not me, it's her. And the one thing missing is that she's not this like New York Times bestselling author and such. She lives here in Huntsville and is running her own practice and doing amazing things for women's health. But it was just so good and chock full of info. So that's where I was like, okay, I need to set these ladies up using the knowledge I have that's like I can do in my sleep, right? Just enough to be able to be like, okay, take this and go do this thing with it. And it's easier than you might think, right? And like try to leverage that. But anyway, so
I feel like it's such a good point, and I haven't really thought about it this way before. But do you ever almost feel like you kind of black out when you're headed into the podcast and you're the host? And yes, you're asking follow-up questions. You're digging for understanding because you know that people want to understand more and know more. But the podcast, the episode goes by and it ends and you're like, what did we just talk about? What did we do? Same kind of thing happened when we were filming Rocket City Momentum season 1 and season 2. We would have guests come on, we would do the show, it would be over, and then I actually did watch it later, like as we're editing it, because we had to, we didn't just have somebody else to like do that. We like edit them, and I was like, wait, that was really good. Wait, we made that point? That was really good. So you're right.
It's
going
important
back
to do that
and listening to it as a listener, it's a completely different thing.
Well, and I also, I have a tendency to be very long-winded at times. And so, and one of my faults from an interviewing perspective is that I'll be like, okay, so Dana, let me ask you a question. So when was the first time you had gushers? And the reason why I ask that question is because gusher, and then I will go on and on and on before I ever come back and allow you to answer that question. And I listened to myself when I was, interviewing Adrienne, and I'm like, stop talking. I'm like yelling in the car.
I feel that way all the time with Lucas.
I'm like, can you just get to the point? So I'm actually glad that I'm listening to it because I'm like, don't do that. Like, let's be a little bit more mindful, Megan, and let's make sure that you actually let them answer the question.
But that it's hard.
It's very hard, yes.
Because it's going.
Well, and I'm a big context person, so I'm like, I want you to really be in my head as far as like what I'm trying to get at, with the end intent of this question. And so I try to really give a lot of context, and most people don't really need that much, so I just need to stop talking. So.
No, I think you talk perfect amounts. I love it. I do you ever feel though, like I'll leave a conversation sometimes and I'll feel like, what just happened? What did I just like all over them, like verbally vomit? Like, oh God, what did I say? What did I do? Oh my God.
It sometimes feels like that in the moment. But you do a great job.
If you rewind, maybe it's not as bad.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad. No.
All right. So co-opetition, right? It would seem like, competitors, we're all in marketing, right? I'm sure that you have a lot of friends in the marketing space.
Oh, yeah.
How do you leverage and pull from and not make it feel like competition? Yeah.
So, I think anybody who knows me and who is in this space knows that I don't look at competition as like it's mine, get out, that is not my jam. That, having that kind of negative energy takes up a lot of space. And I am very selective with where I put my space and who I choose to let take that away from me.
Yeah.
The older I've gotten, the less I give a crap about certain things.
It's the old lady syndrome, right?
And so I'm just like, what ifs, And so, so I would much rather, and I'm a fun person. Like I like to enjoy life and, and so I would much rather be that way with everybody than it be this like, that's for me, But in addition to that, I'm also very honest and authentic. And I think, being very close friends with, the top 5 of my competitors in this market, who I consider very close friends and have, ironically confided in very, very much over the last year as I've gone through the pivot in my own business, and I'm so fortunate for them. One of them is like one of my best girlfriends, Ellen Didier. I mean, we are so close. And
Red Sage?
The best. But she has
Other
been...
than Flourish and Rocket City Momentum.
I know, and all the other ones. But she's like, she's going to laugh if she hears this, but like, she's like a legend in my mind, you know? Like, she's just like, oh, Ellen is just, she's amazing. And anyway, so I've really, you know, I've made it a point to be friendlies with those that are in this space for a variety of reasons. Number one, there's way more business in this town to go around.
You can't do it all.
You just cannot do it all. And who wants to do it all? Ew. You know, but secondly, like you guys are really good at very particular things.
Exactly.
And so everybody kind of has a little bit of their own lane that they can really focus in on. And the more I know about you and the more you know about me, the more we can both carve out our niche, right? And then be able to be very intentional when we do choose to collaborate, right? So I've always been of the mind like, hey, I want to know who's in this community and I want to be friendly with them because I want to learn from them. I want
know
them
what
to
they're
mentor
good
me.
at,
I'm like, I started this business, by a dare by my 11-year-old daughter. Like, I had no clue what I was doing. Like, a business plan? I don't have a business plan. I couldn't even cash my first check from a customer because I didn't have a business banking account open yet. And I held on to it for like a month. Like, no joke. My first
and you're
client
like,
check.
At some point, I have the check, but I will have it deposited sometime.
The irony, because of course I was so broke, right? Starting a business. And so I'm like, I have the money, but I can't do anything with it. So it's just, and I'm very honest about that, right? Yeah. And so I think, going into a relationship with someone like you or someone like Lauren Goins or Lori Hurd or Ellen Didier early on to say, hey, listen, I admire you. I admire your work. I'd really love to learn more about what you're doing. And then it's just about building a relationship, right? And then again, I will also say too, and Amy McWilliams, like she's another one, I cannot tell you, and all of them would commit to a yes on this, but I've sent them all a ton of business.
Right.
I mean, because if I get something and it's
not a fit for you.
Oh my gosh. And I'm a relationship kind of person. So I invest time in people and relationships. And I have probably spent way too much time having random long conversations, just giving advice and helping other people that never result in anything, right? Just because that's kind of like my nature. That's why I got into marketing, because I loved helping people find solutions to problems. And you would have
ideas firing, and then
I'm just like, oh my gosh,
stop.
You should think. And I got into the point where if someone calls into the Flourish line and we have a phone call, and it's not to be arrogant, but I'm like, I would strongly suggest you record this conversation or get a pen, because I'm going to give you a lot of really good nuggets. And I've had people be like, oh my God, that was great. Can you email me all of that? No. And I'm like, absolutely not. I cannot.
I actually don't even know what I said.
I know. So, but it's things like that where like, if someone calls us and we're not a good fit, I'm drafting an email saying, okay, here's Move Digital, and they're really great at this, and they'd be wonderful for this. And here's McWilliams Marketing, and she specializes in X, Y, and Z, and she, and I do that all the time. So and that has resulted in just such a great, I think, reputation from not only from the brand that we've built, but the culture that, I spent so much time building at our company. And it's really important to me to kind of demonstrate that, like, hey, we can all get along and we need to. And to have any of them, speak poorly of me, behind my back, like I'd be devastated about that.
I've never heard anyone speak poorly of you.
I'm sure
ever.
there are some people
maybe I don't know them,
but that's just not my nature. You know what I mean? Like, and to have, beef with someone, I'm like, I haven't got time for that.
I'm a little bit too busy.
I just don't, that's just not the space. I don't want to take up space for that. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
All right. So let's talk, huge pivot in the last 6 months, year.
6 months, 6 to 8 months.
So walk us through kind of like what was going on in your business a year ago and what's changed now.
So I'm going to give just a little bit of history on things. So first things first, this has been like the absolute funnest journey I think I've ever been on. And I have
owning the business in general.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I have learned, holy cow. I feel like that's almost like the second half of my life. Like the first half of my life was pre-Flourish, and the second half is when Flourish started. And I don't mean to be cheesy about that, but it's truly just really shaped and molded me and has taught me so much. And there were a lot of traits that I have today that I didn't have when I got started. And I'm really, really proud of that, And I think we've also built something that has been a phenomenal environment for young women to work in and understand what
it looked like a really fun place.
It was amazing.
It was kind of like, should I go ground level and start over and like come be an intern at Flourish? Because I just want to work with Megan.
The number of ladies in our circle who have said the same thing. They're like, you guys drink wine and thrift together, like in your office. And we have a lot of fun. And, it's they're marketers and they're creatives, right? So no offense, but we're not like with a bunch of engineers all day long, right? So like we have fun just naturally. Dressing up as witches for Halloween was probably my funnest. And they were all doing like a circle, in the office.
Was there salt involved?
Probably, and candles and all sorts of, we were doing some witchy things for that one client last year. We were putting a spell on you.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
Spike the lens right here. So you know
who you are. Anyway, so Flourish started, I had my, started the business in 2018, had my first hire in 2019. That was amazing. She was part-time for like a day. And then I was like, you're amazing, full-time, let's do it, And then later that year, I hired my remaining 2 employees in 2019, which was great. And we were at this place where it was like, okay, growth heading into fourth quarter, 4 total employees. We just moved into our first office space. We had all these contracts out that we were waiting to hear back on. And then the new year starts and COVID hits. And so it was like, whew, but we were good. Like we recovered and I'm really proud of how we recovered, which I think is a huge contributor to the success of where we are today, because we really leaned into being a resource for our community to say, hey, here's how you engage with your customers online. We were doing workshops and webinars and doing all sorts of stuff with the chamber. And so our name became synonymous with small business help and resources, right? And that's really how we kind of made our way, if you will. Anyway, so flash forward, we grow, and think we actually, do fairly well after COVID, and we grow the team. We're in an office space where we've expanded our space like 5 or 6 times in the same building.
You're just like, I need more.
We need more. And again, I'm that like happy-go-lucky optimist forever. The glass is always half full. And we had a big contract that we were under, and anyways, long story short, we got totally screwed. And this was in 2023. And we got totally screwed after we expanded our office space, and had a total of 6,400 square feet of space. So just think about that, and what the real estate prices are right now in right across the street from Town Madison. So we had all of this additional overhead and not the income to cover it. So it was like, oh my gosh, it was just a big setback. So we were in and this is small business stuff, right? Like you make a decision.
One contract can take down a small business. One slow pay can really, really hurt.
It's amazing. And like the federal government now is on like net 90, right. We're on a contract, and it's like, it's ridiculous. I'm like, who operates a small business? And anyway, so, again, and none of these things are things that I regret. We just, as a small business owner, you make the decisions with the information you have at that time, not knowing that, holy cow, this could potentially happen. And I will say, one of my, call it a fault, call it a weakness as an entrepreneur, is that I always think the best in people. I always assume that they are going to be very good people.
It's true.
That they are going to follow through, that they're going to be held accountable, that they will respect me, that they care about me, and that they care about my family and my children. You know what I mean? Like,
why would they set false pretenses? Why would anybody?
I'm getting big red flags right now. I'm feeling them, man. This is like highly triggering. Triggering.
It's so true. And it's one of these things. And then when you're in it, I'm just like, oh my God, the potential, our team's so excited, like all these great things. Oh my God, we're working with it was like a PGA golf course. It was very, very cool stuff that we were working on. Went nowhere. Guy screwed everybody over. It was a huge blow. And again, you're having to kind of go back to the team, and it's like, well, we did all this work, and now, and which is just a really hard thing to kind of manage. So anyway, so I would say all of that to say that like we've had, the 1-2 punches, right? I think with any business, looking back, I definitely would have made some different decisions on like, instead of trying to, grow into a larger space, to have this cute space for our team, we're going to be sitting on top of each other until we absolutely have to grow, or we're going to think about other models. That way we are not tied to an overhead expense, these little things that you're just like, you just don't think about
because you haven't had that blow yet.
I've never been through this before. Like I don't, and anyways, so it's just these little things like that happen. So anyway, so our team has been upwards of 12 full-time employees, which is just crazy to think. But after sort of 2023 happened in 2024, we made a couple of changes to the team, kind of pared down just a little bit. Fortunately, we were able to get rid of half of our office space, which was fantastic. So we were able to, relieve some of that overhead, which was great. And then, 2025 came along, and we had really taken a pivot in around 2021-ish to really focus on government contracting and, the aerospace and Department of Defense and all of that. And we'd gotten really involved on some mentor-protege partnerships and things like that. So we were under contract, and then, had one government contracting client, which led to two more, and then another one, And so before we knew it, about, a year and a half ago, we had about 80% of our portfolio in government contracting and defense. We worked with NASA.
And a year and a half ago...
Yeah.
We know what happened with the government.
Right. So come, January, come like mid-February is when everything after the new administration took place, and we had DOGE and all of these changes. And I mean, so much of our local economy is tied up in government contracting. Mm-hmm. So when you have these small businesses that it's just like, well, net 90, maybe, we don't even know when the contract's going to be awarded, even though you've hired people for it and you've got an office space, all of that went out the drain. And so just, picture a line of dominoes. It was like one thing after another. Mm-hmm. And we worked a lot with smaller businesses, right? So we lost three of our clients in the first quarter alone, two of which closed their doors completely.
Right, because they closed down due to everything that was then happening to them as a result.
Yeah. And am I ever going to be the person who's going to be like, I'm coming after you for that?
Right.
My God, no. Absolutely not. That is,
however, you probably got the wave, right? It crashed on you because 100%. You won't.
Yeah, it's just, and it makes that's a really hard place to be, right? Because it's like, well, I understand that there's these market factors that we can't control. Not my problem.
Yeah.
You're still under, that's just not me. And I think, again, I've got a lot of weaknesses as a CEO of a company, and that's definitely one of them. And I don't admire people who can just turn it off, because I don't ever want to be that way.
It's like,
but they're probably more effective.
I don't know. I just don't know.
I just couldn't do it. I mean, it's like post-COVID, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, how are you going to, when there's literally nothing that they can do. So anyway, last year kind of happened. It was, we had these dominoes that just sort of kind of went one thing after another. There was one client that we were working with, not in the GovCon space, but in the healthcare space, and they were absolutely awful, like the worst client on the entire planet. And what started off to be a very lucrative contract just was whittled down from day one. And then there was just so much about it.
Like scope creep
it was just awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. And it was, wrong personalities working on the accounts and conflict with the client. I mean, just a variety of different things that, again, really could not have anticipated.
Right.
And we had been working with them on the strategy stuff for so long, and we just didn't see that things were going to be an absolute nightmare. So we exited that because we absolutely had to. But coupled with everything else going on that year, it was just like, ugh. So it just, things looking back, again, when you're in it, similar to what you mentioned about the interview, everything is just cloudy, blurry. I am, desperately trying to keep the face on. I know we've talked about that, which is really, really hard, because you don't want your team to freak out, and you don't want them to think that, something's wrong. And in the back of my mind, I'm just like, I'm trying to do everything I can possibly do just to keep the ship afloat, right? Moving money from here to there and just trying to do anything that we can possibly do. And again, I'm a creative person. I'm not a numbers person, right? This is where my husband comes in. So he kind of carries that burden, right? To kind of be like, okay, this is where we're at, and these are the decisions that we're going to have to make at this point and this point and this point. So anyways,
he had come and he was working for you, right?
Yeah. That was awful too. So my husband, who is amazing and so good at systems and processes, and I mean, he could,
completes you in all those ways, right?
Right. He's the opposite of the orange card, but equally as awesome. So, or even more so awesome. He's the best. But anyways, so we had these big goals for him to come over. He came over in April, and we've been planning this for about 6 months or so. And, it was again, looking back, when you're in it, it's we couldn't necessarily foresee what was going to unfold in quite the level that it did. And, my thought with bringing him over was, okay, well, we're really going to focus in on this, and this. all of that went out the window because he's just reacting to the dominoes crashing and how we handle things. And, and so like it was, which was really tough for him because he was in a position previously where, he worked in a sales role where, it was dopamine hit after another.
Right.
And then you come over to Flourish and it's just like, he's just fixing stuff. And, it was just,
and the fires weren't quite the dopamine
and
hit.
then the stress of me. Right. And he's like, wow, you're really interesting to work with, And he's just because I
love you, but
I'm very impatient, and I'm like I want something a certain way, and it's one of these things where it's hard for him, right? Because he approaches things, what we were talking about earlier with the instruction manual, where he's like, well, I want to understand the whole process, and I'm like, just do the thing,
just get started, we'll figure it out,
right? And that's just not how his mind works, right? Which I am so appreciative of because it's because of him that we've been able to really turn things around and look at things very differently. But it's really hard to see that when you're in the moment and you've got all the stress and all of that. So anyway, so he comes over in April, just not good, didn't really result in anything that we had hoped it would, which was by nobody's fault, right?
Yeah.
And then, we get into Q4 and things just start to not look good. And we had some really, really good opportunities come our way, but a lot of them were a little bit delayed because of the timing. And so anyway, so it just kind of put us in a decision where, or in a position where I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's gotten to a point where it emotionally and mentally and physically, it was taking a toll on me that I was not enjoying. We were just so consumed with all of these factors that we had
even just the overhead, hanging on you.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing too, right? So, I think we started the year out last year. I think we had 7 or 8 employees, maybe 7 employees, full-time employees. And lesson learned for someone who's going to be starting a business. And I'm so glad that there's a lot more options available right now, right? But one of the things, and we can talk about this or not, but, I was really intentional about the culture that I built at Flourish because of my former experiences, which were not so great. And so it was really, really important to me that, I wanted to create an environment where women can thrive and they didn't have to worry about certain things and they were protected and they knew they had someone to back them up, regardless of what that looked like. And anyways, and I was very, very diligent about that. And I carried that through, demonstrating things like unlimited pay time off.
Right.
And we paid for 100% medical, dental, and vision insurance, 100% premiums for all of our employees.
Which sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's so expensive as an employer. And you know what else happened last year? Our insurance costs went up by 30% overnight.
Right.
Because of everything that was going on in our healthcare system. So 30% increase just in healthcare alone. We got an unexpected bill from our landlord, which was about $22,000, completely unexpected.
Get an unexpected bill?
Don't even get me. We could have a whole episode on this property management company.
Yeah.
It is I cannot wait to get out of the building just so I can go to the BBB and totally just, they're awful. But anyway, and all of our tenants are pissed and have left the building and all of that. But
it's been a slow.
So it's just there's just one thing after another, right? And it's how much more can we really take of this, right? So as Zach, as we are up late nights, most night, not sleeping we have a massive whiteboard, just strategizing okay, what can we do here? And how can we hang on to this person until this time? It was awful. And at the same time, we still have active clients that we're supporting, right? So It's oh my gosh. So we, again, just shuffling things around, and we just made the decision that we just had to let the entire team go. And so, the end of the year.
And you were probably so stressed to even deliver that message because you love them.
That was probably the hardest moment I've had in a really, really long time because I just my stomach was tore up. I absolutely care about each of them in such a deep way, and looking back, I'm like, my God, they're all freaking rock stars.
Yes, and they found the other rock star jobs.
I know,
right?
They've all landed on their feet in ways that. No kidding, right? And so but that moment of being Allison, she's with me for 5 years, and she's
But I bet they all actually understood.
Oh, they did. 100% they did. It was it was hard, and it's hard because you want to share, but you don't want to give too much, and you want to try to shield them from that for as long as you can, but then it becomes to a point to where you just can't do it anymore. So anyway, so I have no employees, including my husband husband, let him go. Everybody is gone. We, kind of trimmed down and some contracts ended based on the timing of where they were that honestly just didn't make a lot of sense for us given the dynamic of our team, which is just now me. I had a couple of weeks where it was a little bit of a slower time and it's like, okay, what do I want to do? And where do I want to go? And that was, kind of going back to that team of competitors in this market. I had coffee with every single one of them. And I was like, oh my God, and it was just, and like before I decided to do all of this. And then after, like, it's been I just need your counsel and I just need your ear. And I just need to know that, tell me the things that I can't see. Do you know what I'm saying?
And how many of them had been through similar types?
So here's the thing is that every single conversation was so validating because everybody is hitting their own challenges. And it's just, it's hard for everybody. And then I really tapped into Agency Management Institute, which was a group I was a part of that was for marketing agency owners, great organization. And you look at the statistics of what's happening within the world of agencies, like small to medium sized agencies, and they are all completely changing their business models to like all contractors or freelancers. Like they're not doing all of the things that
they're not trying to be all inclusive.
No, well, but the overhead, because your clients are going to change and shift,
and you don't exactly know what they need at the time. And
no, and in our team, aside from Allison, really, they're all like so skilled in so many ways, but they're really they're great at a lot. They're not like they're not an expert, and not to say they have to be,
right?
But when you have technology that skills up that way, where if someone wants to do digital, you've got to have an expert in digital who really, really knows that, who's on top of it, right? And so I found myself, I'm like, okay, we can probably do this a little bit of a different way. And so it just, looking back, I feel now that I'm on the other side of it, as hard as it was to get here, I feel so clean. I have such a clear picture. I feel like I've started over with like a blank slate, which has really allowed me just to get some clarity, frankly, because I haven't really had the white space enough to kind of like just be and just figure out what I want to do.
Yeah. When you're stressed, you can't really
you can't see through any of that, and it's all of these like, oh, I need to learn that tool. I want to sharpen my skill on that. I
gotta stay up to date with, look at all this AI stuff happening.
Well, and when do you have the time to do that? Like I found myself doing all of that when I was on the treadmill at the gym in the morning. And I'm like, that should be my time. That should not be the time, And so you just get into these and then I wake up and I'm dreaming about work and I'm like, okay, this is not like good for anybody's health. So anyways, it has been amazing, and it's really gotten me back to like what I originally started out with this business to do was really working with clients and figuring out solutions to problems and doing strategy and consulting work and advisory work. We're not doing all of the things that we were doing before, so now it's really about kind of coming in, doing a full assessment, building strategy, and then helping set up systems and processes, and then maybe even helping them hire a person to execute kind of long-term strategy.
Not necessarily to do the execution,
right? Like I'm doing a little bit of that with some clients, but it's not the aspect where it's like, an in-house person would be. It's like, hey, it's a 3-month project. And so, doing some spot work and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun. I have a portfolio of completely brand new clients that I have not worked with before. But one of the things that I think has caught me off guard the most is how much I feel as though I can be present in the work that I'm doing. Because I don't think that I was able to be like physically present and really have active conversations and think about the 2 steps ahead and come prepared in ways that are resulting in a much more valuable conversation. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I found myself just sort of like skipping along
and
I'm like half-assing 75 things as opposed to like giving 100% to 30, right? And so it's one of those things where I'm just like, I never realized that I was doing that so much. And I'm getting a lot of like one-on-one feedback now, way more so than I was before, because I was kind of distanced from it. And that's really helpful for me to understand like, okay, what works and what doesn't. And, and I'm finding myself, to your point earlier, where a lot of people are like, how do I use AI to help with marketing? And how can I set up a system that way I don't have to have a full agency because I can't afford that. And I'm doing a lot of that right now too, where it's like, hey, here's how you can do this. You don't have to hire me, but I can give you a strategy and give you some tool recommendations, right? And then I can just help you periodically when you need it.
And then when you have questions, come check in, right? Like instead of you having to be fully present.
For sure. I mean, my whole thing has always been like, teach them to fish. Like, I don't want to be the one to do the fishing for you, right? Like, and I like the educational component of that, and not having this kind of long-term required every single month, you know what I'm saying? Which can get a little bit stale sometimes, you know?
So I think all of this is fascinating, and I think that you have embraced this change in your life, your business, like with grace, and like, I don't know if it was easy to step into that, like how hard it was to kind of come to terms with it all. Like, how was that?
I mean, I think so it's funny, you know, we were fortunate enough to have a friend of mine reach out over the, you know, as I was telling you before we got on, we deflourished our entire office over the holiday break, which was probably the most depressing thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I was like, I just can't even look at it, you know, and like, and, you know, anyone who's been in our office knows that it's like beautiful.
Yes.
And it's like, it smells really good.
Wall,
and
like the greenery.
Oh, it's
like,
great.
Yeah,
it's great.
So pretty.
And I just, it's like, it's a space that we hang out in all the time, right? It's like, I wanted to be like comfy couches and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, but we had to, you know, inventory all of that, sell all of that, get rid of all of that. And that was really, really hard, because it's been 8 years of my life that has legitimately been my fourth child, you know, and like looking through old pictures and frames and awards and just like, and I save every single thank you card I've ever gotten. And so I have this just, you know, and like just going through stuff and organizing, and it was really depressing. So, but all that to say, a friend of mine called and said, hey, I'm looking for an office space. Are you still, you know, getting rid of yours? And I'm like, holy cow, this couldn't be more perfect timing.
To like sublet it
to get rid of my,
yeah.
So like, in addition to having to make this really hard decision about the team, you know, I'm now able to free up overhead with the office space, about 80% of it being off, which is like
how long of a contract were you in? Because
so
usually they do like 3-5 years, right?
They're like my, they're subletting for me, you know what I mean?
No, I mean like yours.
Oh, so we have like another 2 years on it.
Yeah,
another year and a half, 2 years.
They're long.
Oh, ours was 5.
Yeah,
when we rebuilt out our space.
Yes,
5 years. Yeah.
Yes.
With like the worst property management company in this town. So anyway, but you know, coming in January 1st when they had moved in, and I was sitting in my furniture in someone else's office, our new tenant. That was really, really weird.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is my office, and you're sitting at my desk. That's my chair.
What are you doing?
Like, get a coaster, because that's my table.
Yeah.
It's no longer my table.
You're going to, like, mess it up. Like, what are you doing?
I know. And it was and there was something about that, like, role reversal, January 1st, coming into the office for the first time after, like, being depressed and whatever after the holiday, and finally owning up to what has to happen. And I think this was the moment for me as I said it out loud to somebody else that wasn't my family. And I was like, well, here's where I'm at. Because he's like, how was your holiday? And I'm like,
this is a loaded question. Like,
know?
Whoa, buddy.
And I'm like, you know, I'm in this mindset where I'm just like, whatever. At this point, like, I just have to give it up to somebody else, because I just don't have control over. I've got control over certain things, right? But it's not going to go my way, and I just have to be okay with that, you know. So I was like, well, this is what's going on, and just that feeling alone of having that conversation with someone else was so reassuring to me, because it was validation through others' shared experiences. It was, oh my gosh, well, you've built something amazing, so it's just a matter of figuring out what's next, right? And like, and what is that? And like hearing some of those kind of, you know, objective feedback, some of that objective feedback, again, from a couple different people as I start to get, you know. That
you actually admire and look up to, and you know, like, oh wow, because here's the thing, a lot of times when we don't see behind the curtain, and everything looks like it's amazing when we're posting on Facebook and Instagram, and oh, that looks so much fun.
Right.
And
meanwhile, it's a house of cards.
There's tears. There's stress. There's, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. I don't know how I'm going to make payroll.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And here you are. And you made it. And you know what? You're still breathing, and you're still going. And
you know, I wish I would have. I wish I would have been a little bit braver to kind of recognize some of these things. Not recognize things early on, but like, you know, it's hard. Like, it's difficult to be in this situation. And I think I wish I would have leaned on the side of being a little bit more agile as I got started, you know, like the health insurance component, you know, like that's a huge expense, a huge expense. And, you know, when you're growing your team and you're focused on all these things, you know, it's like that can be really challenging when, again, you have these lulls in contracts that frankly you just can't anticipate, you know, and being in a service-based business, like you just don't know, right? And so it's being able, and again, it's easy for me to say that now looking back, but I wish I would have.
Hindsight,
always. And this is why people who sell businesses and are successful, they write all these books, right? Because they're like, what I should have done was. Here's the thing.
Like, you'll probably see a big theme though, but then they pick up and they build another business, and like sometimes they fail and sometimes they don't.
Right.
Or, sometimes they succeed and then they'll sell that, make a bunch of money, and then go try again. And so I think it's
you never know, right? You never know. So I'm very excited about what's to come, honestly. And I think it's lots of opportunity ahead, and I'm working on some really exciting work that I'm doing. I'm like rolling up my sleeves and actually doing the work and getting really, really creative with stuff and just doing stuff that like I just haven't had a chance to do in a really long time. I feel like I'm like kind of playing in a sandbox a little bit, which is fun.
Well, okay. So as we wrap up, because this has been amazing, thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing, and like really in a very authentic, and like we're not scripted. We're not, we're just telling it like it is. Yeah. So what is one piece of advice you would like to leave, somebody that's out there hustling, they're growing their business, they have this vision of what they want, they're constantly hitting like roadblocks, and what would you tell them that they could take away from the lessons that you've learned maybe the hard way?
Holy cow.
Condense it all into like one tiny little one. Like,
well, I think it depends on where you're at and, what kind of business you're in, of course, and all of that. But, I think my thing would be, and, it's interesting in that Veronica Cram, who is a local profitability coach here. She's got an amazing small business, Insight Strategic Solutions. She told me a long time ago, the first time I met her, she's like, the riches are in the niches. And I didn't really understand what that meant. And I was like, that sounds boring. Like I don't want to be super niche. And like, I know. And for what she was saying to me was, pick an industry and become a specialist in it
and do it
really, really well. Right. Because then you're a specialist in that space. Your rates can be high, all the things. And so, I think one of the things that we tried to do is we tried to be everything to everybody. And we didn't necessarily define really who we were from the beginning. I was just happy to have anybody pay me money to do anything, right? I mean, not everything, but
okay.
But so I think my piece of advice would be, if you find yourself kind of hitting walls and hitting barriers and all of that, it's probably because you don't have a clear path of where you need to go and really who you are. And I found that we were reacting to clients a lot, and which all of a sudden you look back and you're like, how did we get here? We're doing these things that just don't make sense because we want to please somebody else. And what happens over time is you start to diminish the respect that client has for you, because they can just walk all over you and you just become yes people.
No.
As opposed to, sure, we could talk about that. Let's talk about your scope and how we're going to, and so you find yourself just doing a lot of stuff. So I would say having a clear plan, having intention behind what you're doing, really figuring out what you're good at and what you're not good at, and focus in on what you're good at and hire out what you're not. If you're spending your time doing a lot of administrative work and you're just not an IT kind of person, like outsource that. Like there's so many resources that you can do. And the amount of time is your most valuable asset, right? And you can't get that back. So thinking about ways that you can be efficient and intentional, have a clear path, I think start there.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Rocket City Momentum. Megan has been amazing to talk to.
Thanks.
And we will figure out what our niches for our riches are. Why don't you figure out what yours is too and let us know. Bye for now.